Today is Sunday, April 11th, 2021, which means it's Derelict Sunday and this episode is late. Hello, Fiendlings, how the hell are you? For the first time in about 20 years, I went to the doctor for a physical. I'm 50 now, so you can imagine the sorts of things that might have been involved in such an examination. I will not go into specifics. Regardless, my lungs are better and the doctor was happy about that. I was then told I needed the pneumonia vaccine so I could stay that way. I agreed, and now today, several days later, I finally feel like I have some energy. As a matter of fact, I just did yard work. Probably a mistake considering there's enough pollen out there to make a small desert, but it felt good to sweat and get some sun. I even cleaned out a space for myself so I can write out there later. Now, if I can just move my workstation out there, I'll start writing and coding in the sunshine a few hours a day. It would be bloody glorious. Anyway, my apologies for the delay. Without further ado, it's time for more story. Be safe, have a great week, and we'll talk again real soon. Here's episode 19 of Derelict, Trident. Chapter 30. Black used the ship's external cameras to watch the Marines on the hangar deck. Wint and Copenhagen had taken up position at the pressure doors leading to Red Hangar, as well as to the hangar gangway that connected Black, Red, and Blue to the station's central hub. Dickerson and Carr weren't too far away, positioned close enough to help their squad mates should something get through. That left Calimura, Noble, and Murdoch. The three Marines crouched near the hatch leading to the hangar maintenance tunnels. Black heard their words through the comms, analyzed their speech, and quickly ascertained their mental health. The corporal was more or less level, although her biometrics showed the signs of an imminent adrenaline surge. Murdoch had plenty of adrenaline already coursing through his system, his readings vibrating with nervous energy. Noble was the problem. The lieutenant's stress levels were incredibly high. Black knew the three humans were afraid, and why shouldn't they be? But there was something else going on with Noble. Black watched as the lieutenant and Murdoch prepped the nanoprobes. Calimura placed a MacLeod to the hatch and awkwardly slid the panel until a few centimeters of darkness appeared. The corporal had opened it just far enough for the probes to enter. Smart.
Oaks?
Noble called out over the comms.
Aye. We're ready. Copy. Ready, aye.
Black's cockpit cam showed Oaks glaring at his display and checking the probe's status. In the time it took for Oaks to have the thought, Black had already devoured the same sensory readings. She did not, however, compare them with what Oaks saw.
Lieutenant,
Black said to Oaks.
My instruments say the probes are green. Mine too,
Oaks said.
Captain? Aye. So we're ready. Probes are green and telemetry is rolling. Copy.
Dunn's voice lightened slightly.
Do it. Okay.
Oaks said.
Here we go.
Black interfaced with one of the probes while Oaks took the other. She added both probes as cam feeds as well as their telemetry streams into her sensor arrays. Now she could monitor what both probes saw, what both probes detected, and take control of them if necessary. Take control. Necessary. Just words, but they meant more than that. Bottom line was that if she wanted to, she could shut Oaks out of the equation and handle the entire mission herself. If, that was, she trusted her own readings. Oaks activated his probe's propulsion system and Black did the same. The long, slender pieces of metal came to life as their lamps activated, their baleful glow nearly lost against the bright emergency lights.
Ready, Black?
Oaks asked.
Yes, Lieutenant.
Without another word, Oaks's probe levitated a few centimeters above the deck. Black followed suit with her own. It took Oaks a few seconds to maneuver his probe so it could enter the gap without hitting the hatch itself. Black waiting patiently. In the space of a heartbeat, she'd run another sweep of the area looking for radiation spikes, pressure checks on the hangar, and another diagnostic looking for energy leaks. Nothing out of the ordinary. She didn't like that. Oaks's probe finally slid through the 3-centimeter gap and into the darkness. Black waited a beat before maneuvering her probe into a 90-degree angle and expertly dropping it through the gap.
Show off,
Oaks muttered. The probe lights, nearly invisible beneath the harsh emergency lights, bludgeoned the darkness, shattering it with bright white light. The cameras adjusted themselves for the ambient glare and produced crystal-clear high-def images. Nearly 3 meters wide, the tunnel entrance provided plenty of space to bring down equipment directly from the hangar deck. For routine maintenance, it was ideal and much easier than having to remove deck plates to get to the underside. A flawed design, Black thought. She created a new memory palace for the hangar, shoved her thoughts about possible improvements in, and instantly ran another round of diagnostics while she piloted the probe. The tunnel consisted of a single passage that meandered through the safe areas, meaning those that wouldn't be blasted with exhaust when a ship left the hangar. It also ensured no one was accidentally spaced if the hangar doors unexpectedly opened. The shape of the tunnel walls kept loose items and humans from being flung back out into the void.
Nominal. Black? Agreed, Lieutenant.
The two probes made their way through the tunnels, the readings nearly flatlined. Background radiation was as expected, no toxins or acidic substances detected, and most importantly, nothing moving toward the lights. They passed multiple ingress points leading into the bowels of the station interface to the hangar. Black marked them all on her map, taking note of which looked operational and which didn't. At that moment, there were only 2 that had any status lights at all, and both flickered yellow. Had all this been the result of the beacon's pulse, or had something else happened at Trident? Maybe even before the wave got here. Something else to consider. The probes continued advancing through the tunnels until they reached the emergency power generator assembly. Both probes halted their progress. Bathed in the light from the probes, the panel, practically new, gleamed and twinkled. The master switch was in the off position.
What the hell?
Noble said over the comms.
Yeah,
Oak said.
I thought once you armed that thing, it never disarmed. Not without the codes. That's the way it's supposed to work, yeah.
Noble said.
Also looks like SFN just put this one in.
Black zoomed in on the generator, pushed the camera past its limits, and began interpolating. Laser welds. Pinpoint accuracy.
I disagree,
Black said.
SFN did not install this item. What? Why do you say that?
Noble asked. Black sent the image of the welds to both men's HUDs.
I don't know of any humans that are that accurate.
Oaks and Noble were silent for a moment, but their biometric readings had jumped. Fortunately, her analysis concluded both men were stressed and confused, rather than afraid.
So what did it?
Noble asked.
Excuse me, Lieutenant.
Black said.
Perhaps we table that question until after we get power?
Through the exterior cam feed, she saw Noble's head snap as if he'd been hit. He turned his helmet directly at the ship and raised a middle finger.
You're right, Black.
The finger pumped twice before the engineer returned his hand to his side and pointed his helmet back at the deck.
Black?
Oak said.
Let's take a look at the other tunnels. See if we need to worry about something getting in here from Red Hangar. Agreed, Lieutenant.
The two probes swung out from the short tributary that had led to the power generator and made their way down the thick atmosteel corridor leading them to Red. The light reflected back in a harsh glare from gleaming steel. Someone had blocked the tunnel leading from Black Hangar to Red Hangar. Black moved her probe closer, adjusted the optic filters, and zoomed in again. More laser welds.
Noble, you see this?
Oaks asked.
I see it. What the hell is...
The probe telemetry changed, the radiation spiking, but well below the lethal range. A hot spot just on the other side of the blocked tunnel.
What the void is going on?
Noble said, his words sounding more like a plea than a question.
Automatons aren't allowed on this station. No, they're not.
Black agreed.
So what did that? I think you're missing something more important,
Oaks said in a dead voice.
How did no one notice this was going on?
The comms went silent. Black ran several suites of simulations looking for a quick and dirty answer. The Sims didn't agree on the details, but they instantly agreed on the answer. An automaton had performed the welds. As to the lieutenant's question, the answer was obvious. No one noticed because no one was left alive to notice. Another fucking goat rodeo, Nimble grumbled off comms. This was absolutely perfect. Something had come into his hangar, unauthorized, mind you, and squirreled around with both equipment and the fundamental infrastructure. And why? That was the question, wasn't it? Although at this moment he was rather thankful they had blocked the tunnel leading to Red. Murdoch mag walked in a clumsy gate behind him, the young Marine seemingly doing his best not to be afraid. If that was the case, he knew how the kid felt. Noble gripped his rifle more tightly. They had plenty of light in the relatively small space. The moment they'd entered the tunnels, their suit lights had vaporized the shadows and left what might as well have been daylight in their wake. It should have made him feel better, but it didn't. The nasty fuckers were attracted to light, fed on it. He and Murdoch would be the perfect meals inside such a small space, assuming the creatures could get to them. So far, it didn't appear as though they could. He and Murdoch continued walking in silence, Noble glancing now and then at Murdoch's rear camera feed with a touch of paranoia. Nothing could come from behind. Kelly Mira was covering that ingress, and her Marines had every other spot covered. No way was something getting in behind them. Well, not without a fight. Still, every step felt as though it were just prolonging the inevitable moment before a starfish's arm swept out of an adjoining corridor and... A radiation alert popped up on his HUD. New sources detected near the bulkheads separating them from Red Hangar's tunnel system. The alerts hadn't become warnings yet, but he thought it was a pretty good bet they'd start to heat up the metal on the other side of that bulkhead. Given enough time, the rads would break through and start cooking this side. And once we turn on the reactor, that's only going to get worse, he said to himself. They turned another corner, and he saw one of the probes floating near the ceiling. Its light pointed directly into an adjoining corridor. He briefly wondered if Black was piloting it or Oakes. If it was Oakes, he felt better about it. At least he knew Oakes would have their back. Black, on the other hand, he wouldn't trust if his life depended on her. He knew all too well, however, that his life had depended on her, and he was still alive, still kicking, still floating around in a void-damn combat suit, risking his life for whatever the fuck reason. But you're still here.
Done to Noble.
The captain's voice gave him a start, but he was thankful for it anyway. Aye, sir?
Get a move on. We're running out of power.
Noble winced and checked the comms connection. That had been over the command channel, meaning even Kelly Mira heard it. He chewed his lower lip. Aye, sir. He walked faster, growling at Murdoch to move. It was adolescent to take out his embarrassment on the terrified private, but it made him feel a little less sheepish. The captain had caught him turtling and called him out on it. At least he didn't ask if he needed a new diaper, Noble thought. The reactor controls were ahead, the metal gleaming at him from his suit lights. As Black had said, the welding and placement was perfect, machine-like. The very thought ran a shiver down his spine, but he didn't know why. Yes, he did. The design wasn't something he recognized. S&R Black was an old bucket, sure, but he kept up on the reactor specs for new ships in the fleet as well as the commercial vessels and power centers. This looked like nothing he'd ever seen before. He pointed his lights at a new system of pipes leading into the crawl spaces above. What the void is this hooked into? He asked no one. Noble wasn't exactly an expert on Trident Station's schematics, but he knew a kludge when he saw one. Besides, all of this was new, the metal still gleaming as though it had just popped out of the printers. He stared at the large mechanical lever. It looked dangerous, as if it might bite him. Or maybe let in the things that bit. This could be a bomb, you know, a voice said in his mind. He reached for the lever. Could be a bomb. His fingers touched the lever. Nothing happened. He curled them around the large red handle. Nothing happened. He took a deep breath and pulled down. The lever didn't move. His HUD flashed twice. Noble stared at the message, and a frown slowly dissolved his look of surprise. Captain?
I see it,
Dunn said. The message on the HUD read, Enter Access Code. Noble kept his hand where it was. He didn't want to give the thing another reason to lock them out. Black? Dunn asked over the comms. Any ideas? The AI responded immediately.
Lieutenant Noble, please authenticate yourself.
What? Black sounded amused.
Send your block key.
The moment she said it, Noble did just that. The HUD message disappeared and the lever dragged his mag-locked hand down. Status lights flicked on and a hollow interface appeared. Cycling. Sir? Noble croaked. All the moisture had evaporated from his mouth. It's powering up.
Good. Stay there until it finishes. I want to make sure there aren't any other issues.
Copy, sir. Noble powered down his mag glove and let go of the lever. What the void just happened? Dunn glared at the holo display. Black, care to explain that?
The moment Lieutenant Noble touched the lever, a file unlocked. The file contained instructions on how to engage the system.
Dunn shook his head. Another trio special.
It would appear so, Captain.
Black was silent for a moment.
Main hangar power is at 25% and rising. Fusion cells quickly charging.
Excellent. Dunn sounded mechanical to himself. Void, he felt robotic. Only difference was he was a flesh puppet instead of one made of metal and plastics. Black, what would have happened if you hadn't been here?
What do you mean, Captain?
I mean, if you had been destroyed or we had taken you offline. A pause lingered longer than he liked. Maybe sharing those sorts of thoughts with that AI wasn't a good idea.
I don't know, Captain. In all likelihood, you would have solved the minor problem without my assistance.
Unless it was rigged to detonate if you weren't here. Another pause. He could almost hear Black thinking.
I don't believe that would have been the case, Captain, but it is possible.
That didn't make him feel better.